Hey guys, welcome to another Trade Genius podcast. Just me today. Bob is on vacation somewhere in Europe. I don't know exactly where, but he should be back next week. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into some Bitcoin charts and take a look. We just made a new high again today at $70,000. So what does that mean going forward? We're going to talk about that. Let's dive in.
Trade Genius.
Hey everybody, it's Bob with Trade Genius. Usually I do fun ads. I talk about our service, but I want to be serious with you for a second. We've been helping a lot of people trading for a long time. As you can see here, I want to let them do the talking for me for a change. But most importantly, we want to help you too. If you've not joined our service yet, come check us out, tradelikeagenius.com. Full service. You know, we have a chat room. We have the algorithms for you. We give trades out every day. We educate you. So go to tradelikeagenius.com. Check us out. What you get out of our service is much, much more than what you put into it. And we'd like to see you in the room. Thanks for listening.
So it's been about a week since we last had a podcast. Like I said, Bob off in Europe. We actually were down in Nashville doing some training, and we unveiled our new histogram tool along with our volatility range. And this is a daily chart. So I got this tool up here, and you'll notice that, basically we've been in this declining channel essentially since March. And now what we're looking for is a move out of this channel. Now, big week, right? We have election next week. What does that mean? Well, I think we're going to see some shenanigans across all of the markets, the S&P 500, as well as crypto. And we have a warning bar here on the histogram. It doesn't necessarily mean a sell. It just means there's a warning up here that, hey, potentially we could be getting exhaustion up here. And we've actually had a trigger bar signal here. So what that means is if we start pushing below the low of this bar, and that's going to take us down to about 65,500 or so, that can open up a sell and come back down and essentially get back potentially as far down as this volatility range midpoint at around 61,400. Do I think we're going to get all the way back down there? I think that's a little deep considering where we are, not only in terms of the calendar, right? We're in Q4. November is a very bullish month for Bitcoin. Historically, Bitcoin runs up into the election and then starts really ramping up after the election. And then if you have, say the Trump administration gets installed, well, that's pro crypto. And I think that's where you're really going to see Bitcoin take off after the election. And I think that can run into the inauguration. Back to the chart. So today we ran up and we actually double topped at 70K. If we take a look at another chart here, this has got some levels on it we can take a look at. The current yearly high, obviously 73,000, approximately 850 or so. And then we have our previous quarterly high, which is also our Monday high, and that is at 70K. So we just put that in today and we took out the previous weekly high. So bulls, they're going to want to see a daily close maintain over that previous weekly high. If not, potentially that could be a swing failure on the higher time frame chart. If you look at the 12-hour chart, for example, you're hoping for a close above that. If not, you get a close below there. Technically, that's a swing failure and we've left the double top. That can open up a potential pullback. Remember, most of the weeks we've been seeing a high being put in on Monday, and then that high tends to hold. Once in a while, you might see them sneak up and try to poke a new high on the Tuesday candle and then pull back in. If we start trending over this high, this 70K high, then we could potentially see a breakout move. There's a reason why I think that might have trouble. We're going to take a look at another chart here that shows the order book shortly. But otherwise, when we talk about where this move can go and pullbacks seasonally in the week before the election, you can expect to see a dip in the markets. And then a few days before the election, you kind of get the, buy the rumor, sell the news type of move where you start grinding back up. So if we do get a pullback this week, you do have to keep an eye on the previous week low, which is at 65K. There's a couple swing lows down there. So the buyers have been hanging out basically where the supply block is. So could we test down there again? It's certainly possible. I wouldn't put it past this market to try to maybe reach back down there after getting everybody baited up here. And the reason why I think there's a potential for a pullback is the order book. Now, switching to this chart, this is kind of showing you where the order book liquidity is in a form of a heat map up here. And then down here, we have essentially, this is indicating where we are in terms of the order book. Well, we pressed up really deep into the asks of the order book. So the sell side of the order book. And you'll notice that when we get up to these readings, and these are really, really extremely high readings in terms of where we are in the sell side of the order book, you'll notice that it's often topped us out, right? We got into this level past this threshold up here and topped us out October 18th. 18th, right? And then a few days later, we got a similar move, similar reading in the order book, and it topped us out. And now here we are with, again, really high readings, and the delta in the order book is also at a very extreme reading, which indicates that, we're too one-sided in this move, too far up the order book, and we can potentially top out. So that's why, given the way that the market tends to react up at these levels, I'm a little cautious here, and I think that we could potentially see a pullback. We are pressing up into some sell side supply here on the Binance order book. We have sell walls up here. You'll notice they pulled this one as we got up here, but we have a couple more up here, and actually this lower one did get filled. So they may try to go up here and try to get these and maybe eke out one more high, but I would be very, very cautious here. The only reason why I would get bullish again is if we had a strong close above this and these levels started to come back in. There are certain situations that, and they don't happen very often, that these moves can continue. So we'll keep an open mind about that, but you have to be cautious here. This is not a spot where you'd want to put high leverage on. If you're holding spot, great, but not a spot you'd want to put high leverage to work unless you see a breakout higher, and then potentially we see a move that exhausts a little higher up. So we have the 70K double top. Really, that area needs to flip to support. And because we're at 69K, or actually trading above 69K, whenever you get above the previous cycle high, which is 69K, you have to watch for an acceptance above that level. So if we do start pushing above 69K this week and we actually get a strong weekly close over 69K, I'm going to say that's our breakout move. And we probably don't fall back under, because typically when Bitcoin starts to get that acceptance over that previous high, once that's been tested, right? So we've already tested it once, the all-time high, new all-time high at 74K, we've pulled back. Normal, that's pretty normal in the way that the cycles work. But now that we've done that, and now that we've come back up, if we're truly leaving this area and we're going in to make the next leg higher in the Bitcoin structure, then we should break out over 69K and continue to run. In talking about the Bitcoin structure, let's go back to this chart a little bit here. So what I think we're doing essentially is something to this effect, and really what happens this week is going to kind of determine how this third wave kind of plays out. But I'm looking for a big blow off move, and I think we're going to see north of 100K. But basically we have wave one up, wave two down, and we're working on an impulsive wave three. At some point we'll see a pullback in the form of wave four, and then we'll finally get this blow off move, wave five, which I think will take us into the north of 100K. Now there's a lot of ifs and thens that go on with this, but currently roughly this is kind of how I see that. If we look at a more short-term chart, so the shorter time frame, we've had a 5-wave impulse move higher, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had an ABC correction, which is typically what you see after a 5-wave move, and then now we're working on potentially another 5-wave move higher. So, and the wave 3 can be impulsive, it can extend quite a bit higher. So depending on what happens this week, we could see this play out. Now there's a smaller count in here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So potentially, because of the order book the way it is, we could get a pullback into this fourth wave and pulls us back at minimum. We get back to maybe 67 area. If we go deeper than that, I typically would look for potentially 66. It could go as deep as 66 on that. But typically, if we're going to hold this structure, we should not see a move below wave one. So if this is truly 1, 2, 3, 4, then the 67K would likely hold somewhere in that area, 67.2 to 67.7, somewhere in there. We look for that to hold. So that's kind of your first area of support. Otherwise, if this pulls back, then potentially that changes up the way this count is, and we'll have to see how this plays out this week. So in summary, potential breakout here. The order book levels are saying danger Will Robinson. Potentially we could see a sharp pullback, and we've seen that in the past here with these last readings, right? We've seen these readings come up here and then we get these pretty volatile moves back down, right? But I think we're definitely building a case for a breakout here, and I just don't think we're going to see that until after the election. And I think because the Trump administration is pro crypto, I think if they do get in, that's probably going to be your biggest upside, and Bitcoin could absolutely rock and roll. So I think next Tuesday, November 5th, is going to be extremely volatile. But in between now and then, I think it's going to be volatile. I think you're going to see a lot of wicks and a volatility, not a spot for high leverage at all. I think it's going to be a very volatile week given all of the hedging that's going on and the pre-election positioning. But we should see a very explosive November, I think, and I think it's going to be to the upside. Regardless of what the election outcome is, I think we're still going to see net upside in November. But there's your current outlook on Bitcoin. We haven't done an outlook on Bitcoin for a while, so I thought I'd share that with you guys. And that's that. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care.
Trade Genius.